I'm Zach Starr, that's Gavin Toney, and this is Phillies Pregame Live. What a sports weekend we had indeed. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the More Than Phillies Sports Network. We have not seen you guys since Thursday when we did some Phillies pregame before. We've had a lot going on in the sports world. The Philadelphia Phillies coming off of a 3-0 start to the year. Stop me if you've heard this before. You swept the Braves with high expectations coming into the season, just like 2019. We're going to cover all of that and more. Why I'm buying stock in the Philadelphia Phillies, why Gavin is not buying stock in the Philadelphia Phillies. Maybe not quite yet. We'll have some convincing to do. And finally, yesterday in San Antonio, Texas, it finally happened. Two events yesterday, by the way, in San Antonio. The first one being, of course, Stanford taking home another title. Unfortunately, UConn falling over the weekend to Arizona. And the other notable event in the same exact city earlier in the day, Jordan Spieth, the former number one golfer in the world who has been struggling as of late. It's been over 1,300 days since his last victory. He won. This is also my favorite week of the year when it comes to golf. It is Masters Week. We just covered it back in November. I'm ecstatic today. Live from Augusta, Georgia. All the players arriving today, having some practice sessions, having some practice rounds, talking with the media. I'm excited. This is going to be a really good week coming up in the sports world. Tonight, the Philadelphia Phillies face off against the New York Mets, who, due to COVID-19 protocols, were unable to play their first three games against Washington. However, tonight they will be going up against the Phillies. So the Phillies get to face their ace, Jacob deGrom. I don't even know who's pitching for the Phillies tonight, someone who did not do too well in the past few years. Maybe they'll change our minds tonight. With that being said, though, I just covered a lot there. Gavin, of course, UConn Huskies unfortunately falling over the weekend in the Final Four. We'll cover that briefly here early, and then we'll have to talk about that Jalen Suggs shot, because that was the most exciting March Madness moment in a very long time. And then, of course, we'll round it off talking about the Philadelphia Phillies hot start and what we expect tonight as we are less than a half hour from them teeing off against, or I'm sorry, I'm using golf terms here, getting started with the first pitch for the game in Philadelphia. But before all that, Gavin, how are you doing?
Zach, I'm doing all right. Listen, it was a somber Friday night for me. I think I used that word correctly. But Zach, listen, I was not too happy. My bracket in the women's championship tournament was busted, with South Carolina losing first, and then sadly my Huskies losing second. But it's all good, Zach. Avina Westbrook's coming back next year. We're running it back. We're gonna get AZ Fudd number one in our class, so we're gonna run it back next year. So Zach, I'm excited for next year. You never know. Maybe I'll be up there too next year. But all jokes aside, Zach, my weekend was great. And the Phillies, they look good. How you doing?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Look, interesting weekend. I'm a big golf fan. It was really exciting to see Jordan Spieth win yesterday. Quick turnaround, though. Not much time to enjoy it, as he's got to go and compete in a tournament he's also won in the Masters in Augusta, Georgia. Unfortunately, Tiger Woods unable to attend this year as he is recovering from some injuries. Tomorrow night will be the honorary dinner for Dustin Johnson. Tiger will be unfortunately missing, I believe. He has missed a few in the past, so this will not be the first time that he's missing the honorary dinner for champions. But look, we'll continue to cover that during the week. But when it comes to the basketball front, what a weekend indeed. Of course, Arizona topping the UConn Huskies in more of a shocker, a game that UConn never really had a chance to have a lead in. Arizona pulling away at some points. UConn fighting till the very end, though. Gavin had pointed out a lot of reasons to be optimistic for the Huskies. This was their third straight semifinal exit. Unfortunately, they have been quite a few years since they've been able to have that dominance and go all the way and get to the finish line. But again, a lot to look forward to for that team. A lot of players returning that are just phenomenal. And so with that being said, of course, last night, Stanford, Arizona, two teams in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 has not won in, I think they said, over a decade, and that guaranteed by Arizona winning it, guaranteed that a Pac-12 team would be crowned champion. Stanford went out there. They took care of business. They were able to secure the win, a close one, but Stanford, the one seed, being able to pull away and ultimately win. And we'll be back with it before you know it. Trust me, I know for Gavin and many UConn fans, it's heartbreaking, but we'll be back to it. Another on the other side of basketball, talking about the Final Four for the men's. Baylor able to take their victory, and of course, Gavin and myself both have Baylor. I did look at the brackets, though. In the big bracket, I'm in the highest place I can get is second. So unfortunately, it's all the money to first place, so it doesn't really matter to me. I don't have much incentive watching tonight, but Gonzaga expected to be the best team in the country. UCLA clearly playing like a team that was better than the 11 that was next to their name. They fought till the end. They held the lead the majority of that game. Gonzaga at all points was just chasing them from behind. And so with a few seconds to go, it's 90-88. A mid-range pull-up doesn't go. Kid gets the offensive board, puts it back up, all tied up at 90. And then a half-court heave from Jalen Suggs straight away, banked it in, Kobe style, running up onto the table. That was just an incredible ending for who was expected to be the best team in this tournament. Gavin, what are some of your thoughts from the Final Four for the men's side?
That Zach, Jalen Suggs is a cold-hearted killer. I mean, let's think about it, Zach. He gets the block to go into overtime, right? He gets the block to go into overtime. First, and also I want to point out his toughness. Zach, he played football back in high school, back in Minnesota. Zach, he got knocked down, kicked around, and all he does is just get back up and get ready for the next play. So you add that in. He gets the block. Zach, if you're UCLA, and this is the best part about the internet, Zach, is you can find all these videos of the UCLA fans all over the place. Zach, my favorite one was the young lady in the bar that got excited after
had the camera flipped around, ready to celebrate going to OT.
Ready to celebrate after OT, and then all of a sudden Jalen Suggs pulled it from 30, looking like he was Steph Curry. Zach, that was something that I was seeing Steph Curry, and I'm gonna come out and let me say this: whoever is the number 1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft, I get Cade Cunningham, I get what he did, but damn it, this guy deserves a great look. I mean, Zach, if Jalen Suggs can hit shots like that with confidence, right? And forget everything else he brings. Don't forget about everything else he brings before the toughness. All right, he could be a nice 20 to 23 point scorer in the league. It's like maybe a double averager. Now that's a lot to say from just one shot. But Zach, Jalen Suggs, for us in our brackets, Zach, we had Baylor winning, but I wouldn't be mad if Jalen Suggs wins the championship. I'm being honest.
And they would finish the perfect season. That brings us to tonight, Baylor and Jalen Suggs and Gonzaga. Gavin, this is my prediction. I had this as my final. I do have Baylor taking the win. Baylor looks very dominant in their past 2 games. Ever since halftime against Villanova, they've beaten teams. They have not played down to their opponents. Gonzaga, on the other hand, is opposite. They beat down on teams early on in the round of 64, the round of 32, the Sweet 16. They got to the Elite 8, and then, of course, the Final Four. And I wouldn't say they played down to their opponent. They put up 93 points. They won 93-90. However, with that being said, they're tired, and they can only have this energy for so long. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a great game, 78-75. I'm taking Baylor tonight.
Zach, it's going to be the game of who wants it more, and that's going to be the meta. Who wants it more? You're right. Gonzaga has not been beating teams like they were in the earlier rounds. But Zach, after a while, getting, like we said about the Brooklyn Nets, scoring 120 a night is hard. Zach, in college basketball, scoring 80 to 70 is hard, especially when you haven't lost at all. And some teams feel like they got your number. Some teams feel like they can expose you. Zach, I honestly didn't think UCLA was going to be that close. I'll be honest with you, Zach. I kind of thought that UCLA was going to get blown out the water. You see the 11 next to their name, and I think that's an understatement. They played like they were a 1 seed, and you could question that. We could talk about that another day. But it's going to come down to who wants it more and what stars for either team is going to show up. Zach, Baylor has one of the best backcourts in the nation, and they're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the nation versus Timmy and Suggs and the crew. And Gonzaga is one of the quickest scoring teams in the nation. Zach, it's going to be a good meta. I know what my bracket says, but something tells me that Jalen Suggs is going to pull something crazy. I got to disregard my bracket. If I get it right, that's cool. I'm going. Zach, I have to. I'm going Gonzaga 85-84.
It's going to be a good game either way. Another notable call from Jim Nance as he adds his collection, of course.
And he'll be at the Masters,
quite notable as well. But look, it's going to be a great game. I think that these are the 2 best teams in the nation. Ohio State was bounced early. Clearly not the best team. Michigan was bounced later on. Clearly not the best team. We have an undefeated team and a team with, 2-3 losses on the year. They were tough losses against good teams. This is going to be a great game tonight. Coming up after this, we do have some news that came out a few hours ago that we'll break down, and then we'll get into Phillies pregame live. So with that being said, stay tuned. We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewers' choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, Single-sided print includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mass sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode. All right, some of the news for the day. The NFL world has been quiet as of late, but today a big move. And what are the implications of it? Sam Darnold, quarterback for the New York Jets, has not been impressive to start his career, to say the least, nor has he been put in a good situation. Has now been traded to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are a very confusing team to me. They just committed all this, not much guarantee, but they committed a nice contract to Teddy Bridgewater, and they gave up on him the next year. They didn't trade much for the second, third, and a sixth.
Well, that second is the shocking part. And the second and fourth.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, the Jets were obviously ready to move on. They wanted a first rounder at one point. They did not get what they wanted. This is a divorce that is good for both parties. The New York Jets need a fresh start. They're going to draft Zach Wilson at number 2. I can near guarantee that, according to some of my sources that I've been in contact with. But now the question goes down to Carolina, a team with a good front office, a great head coach, and they're building a great culture, and they're spending money in free agency. But are they sold at the quarterback position? They could be a team like the Indianapolis Colts, where they're building everything and then they just plan on plugging a quarterback in. Most franchises rebuilding start at the quarterback position. The Eagles did it with Carson Wentz way back when. Baker Mayfield with the Cleveland Browns. And if you look at any team, the rebuild begins at the quarterback position. Why do you tank? You tank for a QB. The Jets are about to do that with Zach Wilson. The Jags are about to do that with Trevor Lawrence. The Niners are a different conversation. We'll talk about them later and who we think they'll take at 3. But listen, this is what matters, and this is what we have to pay attention to. The Panthers were not a bad team last year. A first year with a new coach after a dramatic exit for Cam Newton. Teddy Bridgewater comes in, and Christian McCaffrey and a lot of other players are banged up. And they were in a tough division with the Saints, yes, even the Falcons, and of course the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. The Panthers are just a head-scratcher to me. They don't want to spend big at that position. They want to be able to just plug every few years, kick out and plug, honestly. The O-line they're building, the defense is being rebuilt very nicely. Hassan Reddick, very underrated signing, coming in from Arizona. But it's just, to me, it's confusing to not see a franchise build around a quarterback. But Sam Darnold may get his chance. But I'm going to scratch my head again at this. Why did you give Teddy Bridgewater money last offseason then?
Can we just stop with the Teddy Bridgewater slander? And that's everybody. Zach, Teddy Bridgewater is a great quarterback. It's nothing like the Minnesota Teddy Bridgewater that, had hopes of winning a Super Bowl, and that disgusting injury in practice ended that dream. All right, let's start with the Teddy Bridgewater slander. He's a great quarterback still. But Zach, I'm on the same page as you. Why would you pay someone money, give him the keys, and then get rid of him and dump him the next year? But as Eagles fans, do we really have that much to talk? We technically did the same thing, but we've seen a couple of years of what we liked or what we hoped. Back to the Panthers, Sam Darnold is not the answer. It's like they have a nice offense with Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel left, but with Christian McCaffrey, and the offensive line is getting back. But remember, this team is 6 years removed, 5 years removed from the playoffs, 6 years removed from that historical 15-1 season that ended up with Cam Newton not diving for the football. Maybe would have won a Super Bowl. They're removed from that. What happened from there? Your owner said some things and kind of rubbed Cam Newton and the team the wrong way. Cam Newton's injuries hurt Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis. Thomas Davis got old. Luke Kuechly couldn't keep up with the injuries. You lose Greg Olsen, your all-pro tight end, who, Zach, let's be fair, wasn't really much because he was hurt. Josh Norman departs and goes to Washington. The secondary, the defense of Carolina was always the backbone, was always the strongest point for the Panthers, and you have to get back to what works for you. Zach, what was best in Seattle? The Legion of Boom. Russell Wilson comes in. Offense is mediocre, but it's not terrible. They have some nice pieces there. But on the defense, you had Earl Thomas, you had Cam Chancellor, you had Bobby Wagner, you had Richard Sherman, and Walter Thurman. Those guys were able to win you games. Brandon Browner as well. The Panthers need to go back to having a great defense, You have to find yourself a stable quarterback. Sam Darnold, the only notable win I care about Sam Darnold to mention is not even the one versus the Rams. I mean, yeah, that's fair. But it's the one that ended the Cowboys season. I mean, Zach, you're 0-2. You come in, you're 0-3. You just beat Dallas. Like that was the only notable win I know of Sam Darnold.
His first game back from having mono.
His first game back from having mono is Zach, and he comes out and does that. And Sam Darnold has a nice little run versus the Broncos here. But Sam Darnold is not the answer. In a division where Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, and I guess Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston, either one, you have to win games. And the Panthers were competitive last year with the Chiefs and with a few other teams. So I'm going to reiterate.
They had a lot of close games, yeah, for sure.
So I'll reiterate what I said. What was the problem with Teddy Bridgewater if you guys are being competitive?
Couldn't tell you. Honestly, it's just a situation where, I don't know. I mean, 3 picks they gave up. This year's 6th rounder and then 2nd rounder and 4th rounder from next year. I mean, it's one of the situations where they're just trying different guys at the quarterback position. The Colts are doing that this year when they brought in Carson Wentz after Philip Rivers retires. The Rams did that, sending Jared Goff to Detroit and bringing in Matt Stafford. These teams believe they can just interchange the quarterback position. Let's see what happens. Sam Darnold deserves a fresh start. I am happy for him, but I do feel bad, of course, for Teddy Bridgewater. I think he earned that position. Unfortunately, will not be able to potentially live it out with Carolina.
There's a team that could use Teddy Bridgewater. There will be one.
Possibly, whether it's to start the season as a backup or not. But look, Andy Dalton's a starter somehow now with Chicago. We'll continue to talk about that later on. But with that being said, the last thing we'll cover on the NFL today, as we know, San Francisco traded up to the 3 spot. Zach Wilson's almost a lock now at number 2. I feel like we knew that. He had a very impressive pro day. Who do you have San Fran taking at 3, Gavin? They made it clear that it's going to be a quarterback.
Justin Fields will be selected 3rd. And ladies and gentlemen, here's why. Did you see the pro day he had, Zach? I forget the number he ran. It was the second fastest, or not second best. He was up there, top 5 fastest, behind Robert Griffin III and a few others.
Jalen Hurts is also on that list.
Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson would have been, but they didn't run. Zach, how does a guy in Justin Fields, right, who transfers from Georgia to Ohio State and throws 60 touchdown passes and showed out versus Trevor Lawrence after getting cracked in the ribs? I don't understand it.
He also beat out Joe Burrow for that job.
He also beat Joe Burrow for that job too. And we know what Joe Burrow became to be after that. Justin Fields is being selected 3rd. Now, in all honesty, it probably might be Mac Jones because that's just something San Francisco likes to pick. Zach, he's a steady.
Not a 3. They traded up to make some noise.
Let's be honest. It has to be Justin Fields. It has to be. But Justin Fields is the second best quarterback in this draft, but he'll be taken 3rd, and it's a shame because he should be taken 2nd.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Out of all 3 quarterbacks, I do think that either Zach Wilson or Justin Fields will be the most successful. If I have to say right now. Was that?
You don't like Trevor Lawrence in the NFL? You don't like that?
Nothing against him, but that organization is not sustainable enough to have a franchise that's of success. But I'll go out on a limb and say Justin Fields will be the most successful quarterback in this draft class as long as he's able to be disciplined and be a pocket passer. He's a dog. I saw determination in that game against both games they played, Clemson and against Alabama. He was getting hit in both. He was hurt. He was out there throwing the ball well. He had an impressive pro day. And more importantly, he's going to get to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo, however long that is. He's going into a team that's Super Bowl caliber ready and has Kyle Shanahan as their head coach. The other guys are still rebuilding. So that's why I think Justin Fields, at least at first, is going to have the most successful NFL career.
If you're Justin Fields, you get thrown into one of the best divisions in all football with the Seattle Seahawks, the up-and-coming Arizona Cardinals, and then the Rams. What better way to make noise, especially on the teams that
They had a good O-line. They had a great defense. A lot of supporting roles there, in my opinion.
A lot of supporting roles.
All right, well, with that being said, coming up after this, the game thread is out, betting lines, and all of the other interesting stats. Of course, starting lineups already came out earlier today. Francisco Lindor in New York. A guy that the Phillies could have gotten. Charlie Morton, a guy the Phillies could have gotten. But the Phillies beat Charlie Morton the other day. We'll talk about that coming up after this. Would you like to know how you can support the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show? If so, head down to the comments on our YouTube channel.
you will see 2 links there. The first is our Teespring, where you can see a wide variety of apparel products, including our signature product, the More Than Philly Sports Talk Show sweatshirts, offered in a variety of different colors, including gray, navy blue, and more. Finally, we have our Patreon page, where you can become a monthly donation member. 10% of all donations go towards an organization of our viewers' choice. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you can't donate, that's okay, because you can always share this.
The Phillies stay home, again coming off a 3-0 start. The Philadelphia Phillies up against the New York Mets tonight. The Phillies sweeping the Braves. That was a shocker to everybody. Before everybody gets on their high horse, including myself, we know how it's happened before. They've started off hot before. But here's why it's different this year, Gavin. First of all, they have a real bullpen. All right, look at those 3 games Look at those 3 games from 2 years ago. They needed 6 runs to win those games. They only needed 2 or 3 these past few. Great bullpen. Hector Neris has done his job, scared us a little bit. The first 3 pitchers have been phenomenal. More importantly, the Phillies have been clutch. There's something about baseball with these teams. Runners in scoring position in the 8th. Runners in scoring position in the 7th. Guys like Zach Wheeler, Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper. They're moving guys when they're on base. If the Phillies don't get on base, of course they're not going to score. But when guys have been getting on, they haven't been leaving them stranded. All right? The runs haven't been that impressive. They scored, 4 in the first, 3 in the first, 4 in the second, or 2 or 3, I think 2 on Sunday yesterday. There's nothing to be impressed about with the offense yet, but that's fine. Didi Gregorius has been playing phenomenal. Alec Bohm is going to come into his own very well this year. The outfield's been communicating. Rhys Hoskins is being a brick wall at first, and JT is being a wall behind the plate. The issues of this team from the past so far have not been present the same way they were 2 years ago in that Braves series. In that Braves series, Rhys Hoskins to the grand slam. Bryce Harper was hot. The Phillies have 1 home run this year, and it's from Andrew Knapp. All right? The offense will correct itself. The offense will rise. The defense needs to sustain. That's what matters. I'm officially, if I didn't already last week, I'm going to buy some stock in the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm not going to say playoff bound yet. I'm not going to say World Series bound. Of course, I'm not going to say that.
You said playoff bound. You said that.
I did. Look, my bold prediction before the season was simple. The Phillies will make the playoffs this year. Here's why I said it. In September of the last 3 years, they've been in contention, and then they fell off the face of the earth. What is different? The pitching is better, so the offense won't be as exhausted. You have some new faces here the last 2 years to blend together. And finally, you have a manager here who doesn't mess with the lineup every single night. More importantly, there's still a trade deadline. There's still guys you can bring up. Scott Kingery might come up and turn some heads if he can get better. I don't know if he will, but look, the bottom line is this Phillies team was situationally phenomenal this weekend. They ran every play out. They had 3 or 4 infield hits this weekend. They ran hard. They showed that they want to be there. They showed the demonstrations of a well-coached team. I like what this team looks like so far, and I'm very proud to call them my baseball team, at least right now.
You say this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I'm not buying stock. All right, let me just read you this number real quick. The Phillies are ranked number 1 in ERA. That includes the bullpen, which the bullpen hasn't given up any runs. Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but they haven't given up any runs yet. And they're ranked 7th with 36 strikeouts already. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Zach Wheeler looked amazing, phenomenal, especially hitting the ball. And Zach, you know how I feel about pitchers hitting because you got guys like Aaron Nola who don't swing the bat.
You're the Astros guy or Angels guy. You're the Angels guy who hit that home run last night.
Shohei Ohtani hit the fastest home run recorded this year. Having said all that, where the offense, you're right, Zach, it's going to correct itself. All right, I'm not worried about the offense. And Zach, Didi Gregorius is playing out of this world right now. I still wish you had Francisco Lindor in here to solidify with Didi Gregorius, but I'll complain about that another day. Gene Segura looked nice and then walk off. I don't know anything else after that. Rhys Hoskins, if you swing the bat, I have no problem with you. Defense, you're doing well.
He needs to swing the bat. It's bad right now. He needs to swing the bat. Rhys Hoskins was clutch this weekend, but he's got to swing the bat a little bit more. They were not aggressive this weekend at the plate. But the issues, Gavin, we talked about this so many times before. What is the cornerstone of a good baseball team? What is the reason the Rays were so good last year? What is the reason the Nationals won the World Series?
It's pitching. It comes down to
pitching.
What's that?
Look, the Phillies have 3 legit starters. I wish they got Troy Morton. Imagine having 4 guys that you can count on to give you a good outing every single time. But, again, we know the Braves were more aggressive than the Phillies were. The Phillies focused on retention, but they need to get better. They have a lot to prove. But I did think it was a good start.
Zach, Jake Arrieta had a nerve to have himself a great debut, pitching or outing, whatever you want to call it. How dare you do that? You robbed us for 2 years and you do that. Have it so that, Zach, the bullpen is nice. All right, Hector the Protector. That's my nickname I'm giving him right now. All right, he protected us the one game. But here's the thing: we only seen 3 arms so far. Alvarado that saved Aaron Nola in the one game for Billie Jean Segura. Bradley is really good too, and Hector Neris. But guess what, Zach? There's still other arms that have to be shown. All right, you can't just run the same thing, 3 arms. Zach, your Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, they're not going to get you. Zach Eflin, they're not going to get you to the 7th inning every time where you could just run 3 pitches.
No, it's going to be 5 or 6. You're going to need 1 or 2 relievers before you're closing.
Exactly. Charles Bradley, I like what we got going on. Okay, Alvarado, he just came fresh off a World Series loss. He looks motivated. He hit 100. Zach, that looks nice.
How about Zach Wheeler, though? Zach Wheeler was dealing a few 100-mile-per-hour pitches.
Zach Wheeler is hitting 100 miles per hour. Ladies and gentlemen, don't sleep on him either. But, Zach, my main point is this. All right, cool. You beat the runner-up in the NL. You swept them, to be exact. You used 3 bullpen arms, the same 3, all weekend long.
Good recipe.
You used 4. And he came on and did a shutout too. But Zach, there's more people in that bullpen that have to show me that they're worth being here. Zach, the number right now, okay, Zach, they're ranked 1. They're ranked first.
Best bullpen in baseball. How about that?
They're ranked first with .96, all right? They're ranked 8 or 7 or 8 with 32 strikeouts. That's nice. That's nice. But what happens later? Zach, we know this team. What happens in June? What happens in July?
We don't know yet. We can only know based on what we see.
Okay, and then what? And then September, they won't play baseball. You have to be consistent in your down months. June, Zach, let's say they play, 25 games in June, right? And ladies and gentlemen, that's not the correct estimate, but let's say
probably about 27, 28.
You have to at least win 15 of them. Okay,
where you got to go. You're going to have to go 10 games above 500 to make the playoffs. So you need 90-plus wins. Here's the formula. The offense needs to get hot, and when it does, this team will be fine. Long stretch, but I'll say this. We were sitting here less than a year ago talking about the Phillies on Monday. They were 1-2, and it was against the Marlins. They're 3-0 this year against the Braves. Let's just take it one day at a time, I promise you. With that being said, real quick before we get to our predictions for tonight, the Phillies' biggest movers on the power rankings going from 19th ranked to 9. That's a little premature in my opinion. They're the second highest in the NL East, the highest, of course, being the Mets at 5, and then Dodgers at 1, Astros at 2. And then my final note before we get into our actual pregame predictions, Fernando Tatis had 5 errors over the weekend. He had 3 errors all of last year. Padres still looking really good, really dangerous. They spent a lot of money. With that being said, Gavin, let's get to it tonight. This is going to be quite an interesting game because we do get a first look at Matt Moore, a new pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies this year up against Jacob deGrom, the ace for the Mets. I don't see how the Phillies win tonight. I really don't. They're going to go to their bullpen early. I have a feeling for that. The Mets are very amped and have a lot of exciting energy. I think the Mets win tonight. I'll say 5-4. I think the offense gets moving early, but I think that they just can't keep up with the Mets tonight.
Zach, the only way the Phillies win this game is Jacob deGrom has a horrible day, and his horrible days don't even look like horrible days. They look like decently bad days. Zach, I'm going to take the Phillies tonight. You talk about how the offense needs to get hot. Zach, they didn't really put up a lot of runs. I want to say 9 runs total maybe in the first 3 games. Tonight the offense gets hot. I think Bryce Harper home runs, and the Phillies win 8-4. I think the rest day and the excitement of the Nationals, or excuse me, of the Mets will kill them a little bit. But I think the Phillies offense gets hot tonight, and Jacob deGrom gets out in 5 innings.
It's in Philadelphia, and look, the MVP of the league last year did not record a single hit this weekend. I'm more scared of the Braves lineup than I am scared of the Mets lineup. I'm just scared of Jacob deGrom against a Phillies non-dominant pitcher tonight. They're getting their ace against us. It's a tough matchup. You're going up against a team who hasn't played yet, so their best pitcher is pitching tonight. The Phillies are on game 4 of the rotation. Unsure if Noah will get the start tomorrow. They might go back to him because they did have that day off. We'll continue to cover that and more. We do about 4 minutes here before the game does get started. It is in Philadelphia. Hopefully some extra motivation. But Gavin, of course, across the league, A lot of interesting games. Of course, the Red Sox, not a good week for them at all. The Pirates stealing a win. Interesting weekend for the Marlins, going 1-2. Gabe Kapler's crew starts off the year 1-2. The Orioles, 3-0. That's going to be an interesting one as they, of course, took down the Red Sox, who are the worst team in the league. Other than that, the St. Louis Cardinals, not a good start to the weekend at all. Them and the Reds, of course, had a little brawl on Saturday. They were expected to be good this year. They're 1-2 to start out. Gavin, it's a long season. We'll continue to cover it. With that being said, anything else you wanted to say today on Phillies Pregame Live?
Two quick things, Zach. One, I want to give a special shout out to Trey Mancini. Zach, you had colon cancer last year, missed all the last season, came back this year, and for the Orioles, so that's what you like to see. That's a beautiful part of sports. His comeback, I'm going to be interested to watch him play. And finally, Zach, Texas Rangers at full capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no words. I don't know, Zach. It looked nice. It looked nice to see 140,000 plus people on the spot at
I'm
once.
surprised they actually filled up the stadium, I'm being honest.
I mean, Zach,
all jokes aside,
you had nothing else to do. So, I mean, what else would you do?
Yeah, hoping for the best for the health of anyone who chose to go. But with that being said, of course, Mets minus 195 tonight, Phillies plus 175, a 1.5 point spread. Look, the Mets have a lot of eyes on them tonight. People will be watching, which means they'll be watching the Phillies as well. With that being said, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in today and watching as the Flyers and Bruins also kicking off now as well. We do have to have Chris on because I'm sure he is not happy with the Flyers this year. We'll continue to cover them as well. Jalen Hurts also switching to number 1 over the weekend. That was some breaking news as well. I like it. I like it a lot. Carson Wentz switches to 2. Jalen Hurts switches to 1. But, hey, look, it's going to be an interesting year for the Eagles as well. Draft coming up soon. But with that being said, Gavin, thank you everybody for watching today. We appreciate it. And let's go Phillies.
Let's go Phillies. Have a good one.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post